All right, this video is about 1 decade of sci-fi and fantasy movies. Period of time that was basically about 10 years, a little less than 10 years long. And in that 1 decade, I'm not going to give the names of movies. I'm going to give 10-second rundowns of each one of the movies that came out in this decade. And to this day, most of those movies had a sequel made or sequels still being made to these movies or in the works. Or there are some that were never made but should be. So the first one, like I said, I'm going to do 10-second rundowns. Giant sandworms and a visionary emperor with a space empire. And basically a tribe of women that were trained to be in control, like monks, like warrior monk women. They were trained to help the emperor. And then a trilogy of movies during the same period that involved the Force and knights with laser swords. The very first trilogy of those movies came out. Another separate space movie about it was like Seven Samurai in space, or kind of like the Dirty Dozen. This ragtag group of different skill set space fighters to take down an emperor, with Richard Thomas in it as the actor. A barbarian movie where this really good muscled guy, the direct sequel came out 2 years after that. Very famous. A science fiction movie about a robot that comes back from the future to kill the mother of the resistance before he's born. That movie said tons, well, not tons, 5 or 6 sequels. A movie about a crew of individuals that haven't worked together in years, but they, after trying to find their own way, realize they work better together as a crew in a Starfleet. And so they all come back together, each in their own way. Some of them out of retirement, some of them out of higher promotions, even get demoted. A movie about an alien that crash lands on this planet as a baby in Kansas and then is raised up to get superpowers. 2 of those movies, in fact. And all these movies, again, came the same 10 years. It's hard, it's really almost impossible to take any 10-year period and have more diverse, unique types of stories that have come out that have had this lasting effect, even on society. Not just here in the US, but worldwide. A movie about futuristic androids that look like humans that have to be hunted down and dealt with, starring Harrison Ford. A movie about an alien on a separate planet that he's kind of an emperor. He's kind of a bad guy, and he shows up every 100 years. He can be defeated with special. I'm just going to tell you the name of this one because it's weird, but it's Kroll. Kroll came out. A movie about an alien that comes to Earth and loves Reese's Pieces, and he has this friend, a little boy, that helps him, and the little boy helps him get back to his ship and goes back home. A movie about a scientist that gets sucked into an electronic computer, has to play games. I want him in the games where he dies playing, right? Oh, a movie that's set kind of in the future on another planet where miners have accidentally discovered a vessel that's crashed there, and there are these cute little eggs, and one of them hatches, and all kinds of fun mayhem ensues. Ooh, Another space movie takes place, I think it's on Mars. I think a human goes to Mars in this one. The Emperor of Mars. Uh, a movie where a scientist creates a time machine that goes in a DeLorean that goes back in time. All these cool different science principles: time travel, space travel, other planets. Ooh, a movie about people that go through time and try to steal different things. A lot bandits, you might say. A movie where a human and an alien crash land and have to, they're mortal enemies at war and they have to work together to live and escape. That is a great movie, by the way. I think it's Dennis Quaid that's in that one. Well, that's great. Ooh, a Disney sci-fi movie where there's an Earth ship that was lost, supposedly lost, and there's a scientist that's kind of, ooh, he's a dark scientist, right? Very dark. And his ship is orbiting a black hole. That's an interesting movie. All these movies came out at the same time period. Very fascinating to me. Ooh, a movie about this maze. David Bowie as the Goblin Emperor. Is that right? The Goblin King? Ah, my favorite story, my favorite movie, I should say, of all time. About a book and a little boy that reads the book and gets sucked into the book and helps complete the book, even though the book never stops, just keeps going forever and ever. And Luck Dragon, a movie about a kid, teenager, playing a video game and gets the high score on the video game and then gets recruited to go fight in a space force. A movie about a group of kids going off and adventuring, trying to find a pirate treasure, right? Another kid show, I'm not sure if this was Disney or not, but he finds a spacecraft that crashed and he learns that he can fly it all over and it can cloak itself and fly around. That one's kind of cool. I like that one. Ooh, a movie with Muppets that's about this legendary crystal that's really dark. That sequel just recently came out for that one. Ooh, a movie that's a series of short stories about interesting things that have happened with a twist at the end. A movie that you could say exists in between light and shadow. That probably exists in between daylight and nighttime. A movie that's based on a book and a grandpa telling his grandson a wonderful story, so that he'll feel better when he's in his bed. But no more rhymes. Now I mean it. A movie about these harmless little fuzzballs that you should never ever get wet or feed after midnight. A movie it's a fantasy movie with a guy who trains animals. He's got like a ferret. I think it's a tiger or some sort of big cat. Has all these animals. He's almost like a druid fighter, right? He can talk to animals, and they help him in the city. That was a whole trilogy of movies, I think. Mark Singer, I think that was his name in that one. Another Disney movie here, an animated Disney movie about a big, dark bucket that supposedly you could put people in and they would come back and with a dark energy. And the books were really good. The whole series is great. Movies about the fall of civilization in Australia with Mel Gibson, where he's driving around in the desert and taking revenge and helping people. A movie about an archaeologist goes on a hunt for things that should belong in a museum. This ain't that kind of movie, kid. And that has several sequels. A movie where there can be only one. Wait, let me. That can be on their line. How does Christopher Lambert say it? Anyway, that's a great movie too. All these movies and the ideas for these movies. Well, not to mention Crystal Lake Camp with where the counselors didn't exactly do their job correctly, and a kid passed away. Very tragic. The Nightmare movies on a Certain Street. Yeah. All these came out in the same 10-year period. Let's see if I'm missing any. Oh, there was one about the knights in the round table going after the grail, and they find it. They find the sword. Yes, King Arthur's famous sword. So all these movies came out in the same 10-year period. I mean, just back to back to back to back. So if you were like a fantasy fan or a sci-fi fan growing up, they weren't all great. They weren't all fantastic, but just the amount of differing views on technology and how it can be used to catch ghosts, or to try to travel through time in a DeLorean, or to get sucked into a computer, or to go to another planet. And what are other aliens like? It's just very fascinating to me, all of the franchises that were spawned from this 10-year period. It's just amazing. Anyway, I wanted to go over that. If you like my content, please like, please subscribe. Stay tuned. Thanks.